Good evening, and blessings to everybody out there. Welcome to the Black Couch
Black Couch
Reviews.
Reviews.
Hey, welcome. We are in the house. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
guys.
Welcome. I am your host, Frankie, and joining with me today is Urshi,
The other half of Black Girl TV.
the other half of Black TV, and we're going to be having a discussion, guys, because it's come up more than one occasion about discussion about marriage, about relationships, about legacy, about building, moving forward, and we've been asked a question a couple of times because as a married couple, and some of been people who've been in a relationship for well over 20 years now, you know, and I was just about to get to that. Well, you've add it in as well, and got other people married as well under our belt, with 3 children in tow. So we have a lot of experience coming into the game, do you know what I'm saying, and coming to the conversation. So we've been asked to shed some light on this and bring in our wealth of experience coming from our cultural background. Both our parents are married. Both our parents are still married to this day, with a combined total marriage years of over 50 years combined between them.
We come from an environment where, like, our siblings are married, people we know are married. So marriage is definitely like it's culture for us.
It's something that's culture. It's something that's part of our lifestyle. It's something that's part of our tradition. So having the conversation or being asked about it, we don't really like to talk about what's going on in the West, because clearly in the West there's a dichotomy between men and women in regards to relationship and what their roles are supposed to be. And we are firm understanding that relationships in a traditional sense, in terms of marriage, in terms of roles, in terms of building family and community, is not conducive to building in the West. And we say that for many reasons, which we'll get into in a number of shows. If you wish to join us, you will find out as we explore these things together. But today's show, as I digress, is because we were asked a question about a certain femininity coach and dating coach who came on another YouTuber's platform, a notable YouTuber called The Lead Attorney. Shout out to him.
We do watch his stuff.
We do watch his stuff. We do like the way he delivers his content. He's a great YouTuber as well. And I do have my own personal disagreements with him on certain things, on his viewpoints, but that's neither here nor there. The conversation is not about him today. The conversation is, however, about the person who he interviewed on his platform, which was this one April Mason. And this April Mason apparently is a femininity coach, as I said, a dating coach, has been in it for over 10 years. And there's a big hoo-ha. Excuse me, that's my fault. My phone is not on silent. Thank you very much. And so this femininity coach made a few statements and came to the forefront because the Manosphere, which is a YouTube space on the YouTube platform, brought her post to light, in which she was saying about how she was quitting the dating and femininity coaching because women's expectations. Let me point out and be very specific here when I'm speaking. Women in the West, and when I say the West, predominantly speaking in the United States of America, their expectations when it comes to dating and relationships were delusional, to say. Were delusional. So on this platform, we speak the truth and we cut to the chase, and there's no BS, right? And we hold both male and female accountable. Okay, truth is truth. We stand on it and we move forward in it because we're trying to grow and build a better community for those who want to be married, for those who want to have meaningful, long-lasting relationships, for those who want to have children and legacy going into the future.
For those that want to stay in their marriages.
And more importantly, for those that want to stay in their marriages and be better partners for their other half. So if that's what you want, keep listening to the show. If you're not interested in that, by all means, there's a billion channels on YouTube. Kindly switch over to another channel right now, and we'll be sure to catch up with you at another time. But if you are interested in watching the show, guys, then definitely put your seat trays back, put your seatbelt on, make sure you're in the upright position. Let's get into the show because we're going to watch April Mason give a rundown to The Lead Attorney, and we're going to give our review. So let me share the screen, let me share the video, and let's go into it. So guys, we're going to play some of the video, and then feel free to stop me when we have something to say. So let's see what this woman says. April Mason came out saying that she thinks that women were delusional in their expectations. The men cheered behind her.
I think she got quite a bit of backlash from some of her own female supporters.
I was just getting to that. Thank you very much for bringing that up. So she managed to get a bit of backlash from female, the same team as her, mind you, right? Because of her opening statements or public statements, should I say. And this has caused a backlash, and this is now the interview following that backlash. And we're going to hear what she has to say. So let me just play the video. Second.
We started to become your audio sounds great. You can stay right there. Right there? Okay. I noticed that.
And just make sure our audio sounds.
I know.
Make sure.
Before the tech gremlins.
Things are all good.
Yeah, good. Excellent.
And then I noticed that when it started to come, the type of data they were seeking. And what happened was let me just pause that for a second. Because that's you just said it like it was nothing. But hold on, you saying when it started to become the data that they were seeking, that's yeah. Yeah. And so what happened was I was never raised in a strong, independent Black woman, household. That was not me. My mother, actually, it was the other way around for me. My mother actually married a man that could not honor her femininity. So what I did in terms of I was extremely hard because I'm like.
I just want to pause it right there.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
Because if she, now this is a point that, because I watch Kevin Samuels' content, I'm sure a lot of you out there also watch it too because he's very popular right now on the algorithm and you can't miss it, right? Whether it's on YouTube, World Star Hip Hop, whatever it is, right? TikTok, whatever the case may be. And he always makes this point, and I will tend to agree with him. And I would like your opinion on it as well, babe. So feel free to jump in because he says that if a woman hasn't been taught or raised to be a wife, that it's going to be very hard for her to learn that skill and to be able to just slip into it, as what April Mason is trying to say here. That she's about to say she's learned how to do this. So before she gives that answer back to women, do you think that's possible? I want you to think about it, and I want you to hear her answer first, and then give me your response. How about that? Okay, so that's what Kevin says. You know what Kevin says, right? So let's hear what she says, and then you give me what you think about it. And I'll come back on it again, right?
Man, so, he played her, he didn't have treat her right, and my mother, I thought she was passive, not realizing she was what a feminine woman is. She just married a man that was not equipped to handle what came with that type of a woman. So I used to look at my mom as really soft at first, right? And then I got into my own understanding of what was actually, going on. So with that.
So, thoughts?
Well, firstly, I feel like she's about to set the premise to make an excuse because on one hand she's saying that she's grown up. I feel like she's about to make set a premise to make an excuse for her lack of femininity. Because on one hand she set the premise that her mother was feminine, so by default she is feminine also because she's grown up in a feminine household. But then she's kind of laying the premise that as a result of what she saw in a household, it caused her to be masculine. But that's a contradiction because if you've grown up in femininity, if you've been raised in femininity, then you too will adopt femininity. So I'm a bit like.
I would tend to agree with that. It's interesting. She makes a contradiction because she says her mother was feminine, but what I've already seen is the sign language that Kevin talks about. Mm-hmm. She says already that she uplifted her mother and insulted her father, and this is something I've seen, especially in the American community. Whenever it's great, and I'm going to do some clips on it. Whenever you see an award ceremony, and whenever the person comes up to take the award, whether it's male or female, they always say, "I thank God, my mom." And then everybody else, but they never speak about their fathers. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, we know that there's a whole single mother epidemic over there in the United States, and in the West generally. But there's always that underlying thing. So there, she just did it again, but she's now uplifting the mom, even though she's kind of looked down at the mom at the same time.
Was it her dad? Because she said her mother was married to her.
Well, I don't know if it was her dad, but she said I'm married to her.
I don't know if she's dissociating her father in that sense.
Right, but that's what I'm saying again.
What she perceives to be her mother's treatment of her marriage.
Right, if it's her father, then she's dissociating him by calling him just some regular dude. And if it's some regular dude, she's still putting the onus and the blame on the man not being able to handle the femininity of the mom. even though she didn't see her mom be feminine, but yet she grew up in a feminine household. That's a contradiction in itself. So already that's a red flag.
But it's also she's exposing the fact that if you grew up in a feminine household, you didn't then see femininity to be something to which to hold up, because like she said, she saw it as like her mom was soft. So she's already showing that she's associated with negativity to femininity.
Right, exactly. I would agree to that. Let's carry on.
I started getting into the dating space. My very first YouTube video on dating and femininity was back in 2010 or 11. So when everybody said, you the female, this is the female, no, I'm my own explanation. I've been in this for a very long time. No comparison needed. Let's all have our own platform. But what happened was I started to notice that women were more successful in business, but they couldn't navigate a quality day-to-day in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So I started a matchmaking service back in 2012, maybe at both in 2013, because the expectations were so unreal. And what was happening was women were thinking, they were looking at themselves and they were doing a panoramic view of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They thought it equivalent to when I was married, and I got married in
Let's just.
She sounds like she's trying to. It's funny, like she sounds like she's, because she's having to speak about when she's trying to frame how she's going to like
speak about women, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So she's about to pander. She's about to pander, right? Okay. Because I smell a panda bit. That's what I smell.
So that's how I really got really heavy into this work, because I actually went through it. And so, except for the strong part, I didn't come from a bunch of strong, independent women like that. I came from more of the feminine woman household. Although, I had maybe one or two lives that was a little earned, but overall, my overall upbringing was more of the feminine energy woman that
I want to stop right there. Now,
come on.
This is why we talk about culture. Now, we come from an African upbringing culturally, even though we both grew up in the West, in the United Kingdom. We've traveled, we've been around the world, and we've seen different cultures and we've seen different people and how they behave. And one thing I've noticed with cultures outside of the West is that they hold family at the highest standard.
They do.
Right? To which they do everything for. Whether it's good or bad, that's not the point I'm talking about. But the point they do those things for is predominantly for family. Now, they don't have these issues that we're having over here in the West. But when I look at this and what she says here, going back to being raised in the culture of marriage, family, men and women having the roles, she made a very strong point by saying, I was raised in a feminine household, but she didn't say traditional. Because traditional would mean what? A set of standard rules, morals, and discipline that she would have to attain to and maintain if she grew up in that culture. But she said feminine. Now, what defines feminine?
For me, when I hear her saying feminine, and
sounds a bit esoteric.
When I hear her saying feminine, and she hasn't attached the positivity to femininity, she's trying to give credence to herself, validity for why she's able to speak about femininity. Hence,
Right.
I come from a background of femininity. She's framing that very heavily. But at the same time, as much as she's saying femininity, it sounds like she's having the issue with submission. Because I think she's battling what a lot of women are battling with. They've seen their mothers in submissive positions, and that submissive position, that's what they think is soft.
It's soft, yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's what they're seeing as soft. So she understands, she's saying that she got to a point where she understood what her mother's femininity was a positive thing. But like I said, it's submissive, that's the issue. They see femininity as submission. And to submit.
Which it is in a way, because it's a vulnerability.
It is in a way, but
there's strength in that.
There's strength in that, but that's not how
But they don't understand the strength in femininity. No. Okay, let's go on.
I looked at it as something really weak. I realized they just chose the wrong men to choose to cover them. The men that they chose could not cover them. For me, when I quit,
you see, for me, it's like it really takes me off when we start going down this line.
What line is that?
The line of excuses.
No accountability.
No accountability, because essentially she's excusing her mother. She's saying, well, there's been no real reflection as to what the nature of the relationship was. It's just been that, oh, well, my mother was feminine and her femininity didn't work out for her. But it didn't work out for her because femininity was the problem. It didn't work out for her because she picked the wrong man that couldn't embrace her femininity. But if we look at it truly as it is, if a woman is truly feminine and a truly feminine essence, a man will naturally reciprocate to that.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? So there would be other dynamics. It can't be that she's purely just so feminine with him because the man can handle the femininity. He's not having to handle strength. He's not having to handle contention. So what would there be to not handle if she's in a true feminine? You know?
Yes.
So when I look at things like that, a lot of the time, as much as what she is older, I think she's like 47, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's still someone's child, and she's looking at that relationship from still the framework of a child. Do you see what I'm saying? Because I haven't heard anything as an adult woman being able to frame
the
understanding
relationship
of that
in which it was. Exactly, yes.
that there could have been other dynamics to
Yes.
the breakdown of the relationship.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I would agree. I would also say that again, what she's doing is doing that conditional. She's trying to frame conditional femininity, which a lot of women, I've heard a lot of women do on the videos. And when I read the comments and I see the Manosphere stuff, I see what they're complaining about, because femininity is something a woman is. You can't expect a man to frame an environment for you to be feminine, because if you lived in your father's house, what were you in your father's house? Masculine? Or did your father frame the household for you to be feminine? In which case, that was a traditional household, and then you'd be passed over to a man who's now put you in another household in which you can be feminine. But if women are saying I'm strong and independent and I don't need no man, then they sever that tie and that link. Go forward in life with that independent mindset. How can you now then want a man to create that environment for you when you've told men you are strong and independent and you don't need no man? It doesn't work. It's a contradiction in itself. So, and therein lies this delusion there. Okay, so let's get rid. I don't want to keep stopping every 5 minutes because this will be a long podcast. We'll keep it to an hour. So let's keep going.
Okay, well, Nick Whitty was 2 years in the making. And I'll tell you this. Over the last 2 years, although, people say, why don't you go to, making money? No, it's very lucrative. But I went down, man, this worked. It worked for me. It worked, because I'm all excited. I'm like, yeah. But get yourself right. You do this. Become the feminine woman for you first. The man is the byproduct. The man is not the reason why we're here.
Okay. No, let's take that back. I missed something.
I feel like there was like a Scooby-Doo moment. Like,
I missed something. What?
The man that they chose tonight.
The man is the
And
byproduct.
so, for me,
Hold on. How did she get there?
okay, well, Nick Whitty was 2 years in the making. And I'll tell you this. Over the last 2 years, although, people say, why don't you go to, making money? No, it's very lucrative. Put it like this, I'm going to keep it at 1,000. If you ever want to make a lot of money, join the dating industry and give women love.
I just want to stop that right there, right? So you've got a black woman and an African-American black woman by identification, right? Saying openly on a platform that if you want to make money, tell lies to black women. So the cat's out the bag now, right? So when men have been saying that commercial entities and certain corporate types have been using this feminist womanist doctrine to sell products, services, and essentially consumerism to women, which in turn has an added effect of not leaving money in the community for the legacy of the children going forward in the community. She's just admitted that right there. So the Derek Jacksons, the Steve Harveys, yes, I said it, the Steve Harveys, all the rest of those other people there, the cat's out the bag, right? So at which point will black women accept this now?
I think within our women's circles, our
Let me rephrase that. In which case will Western black women accept this?
I don't know if they will. We always have a discussion, don't we? I don't know if they will, to be honest with you, based because I believe a lot of them are too far gone when I look at it. But yeah, that is some truth which she has spoken, because that is it. And look, as women, I think we know that, and we amongst ourselves we know that. we will buy products not necessarily because they're of a benefit to us, not necessarily because, you always say, like, if you buy something, make sure it not just looks good, but has a functionality to it, practicality to it. But a lot of the time, women, we don't need that. We just need somebody to sell something to us that allows us to feel okay about it, and then we go forward. And unfortunately, it is our own demise now, because we need that to operate, and we permeated that from all circles. And in the dating, they know that. Which is
ironic, because women always say they don't want someone that's materialistic, but then when it comes to consumerism, they're 80% the spenders. So essentially, who's the materialistic one that when it comes down to it? Well, I don't want to get into it, but let's get into it. Let's get into it.
I mean, it's just got to remember, these women, a lot of these women, not all, but when I say these women, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about experience of
not all.
Always has to make a distinction.
Years of this. So I've dealt with them from all different ranges, So it's safe to say, for me to say, that when women came to me, they didn't come to me to become better. They came to me for a better, for access to a better penis. That's what they did. So me, one of my best friends told me, you're going to have to disconnect or divorce yourself from themselves. But I'm like, no, man, this worked. It worked for me. It worked, because I'm all excited. I'm like, yeah. But get yourself right. You do this. Become a feminine woman for you first. The man is the byproduct. The man is not the reason why you're here. He is the byproduct. If you do these things, you're not in a hurry to get married. And so.
Okay, I stopped it there. What do you think? Before I even say anything, what do you think?
That's so damaging when women tell other women these things. You see what I'm saying? Like, I made some notes. For her to say, firstly, become your feminine woman first, and then the man is a byproduct. That's a little rubbish. A man is never a byproduct. You know what I'm saying? As women, the man should be your first and primary goal to what you're trying to attain. So if you now make the man the byproduct, which is what we see, men have become the byproduct. That's why we see that women don't work for men. They don't work to show men. They don't work to show that they're ready for marriage. And that's because they're being told that work on yourself first, take your time. But as a 47-year-old woman, she knows as women we have a biological clock.
Right.
Whether we want to admit it or not, time is not, it's not our friend. So when I see these women that push onto other women, that time is your friend, that's dangerous. That's dangerous.
As we always know, I mean, we're in our early 40s now. So, it's quite interesting, because we always know that mother time gives you youth, but father time takes it away, right? So in the modern age, social conventions have convinced women to think that they can prolong the aging process through plastic surgery, cosmetics, makeup, etc. But in essence, that doesn't change your biological clock, your biological insides. Do you see what I'm saying? So know the hormones that are released naturally and biologically at certain periods of times in your lifetime. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, she just the statement before said that if you want to sell something to women, sell them fluff.
Right.
She's selling them fluff.
Right.
You're telling women that get yourself right in your femininity and you have time. That's because in her business, if we were just coming in and married and getting coupled off, then she gets no income. She gets no income. It's the same like doctors, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm sorry, like the pharmaceutical industry.
Yes.
If they were just giving you stuff to get you better, then
they will have no clients.
So for her, of course, it makes sense to have women in a state of just repeated in the dating field, just constantly in I'm dating, I'm looking for men, I'm vying for options, I'm totally right. But if you're totally right and put together and your money's right, etc., you should be doing that to make sure you are an eligible candidate for your husband.
Right.
It should be for that.
See, again, and I agree with you, because this is where it comes down to, and I want us to talk about some of our cultural backgrounds as well, because I've seen growing up and being half African and half West Indian, I've seen the African side, the women that is go to university, study, get PhDs, get masters, whatever the case may be, and still get married, and still have 2-3 children, and
there's not this thing of some kind of oppressive state to get into marriage. Like I said, for us as well, being cultural language, my dad is like a chief, and marriage is something in African culture where we have a traditional marriage and then we have the Western marriage. So it's something which marriage is about families coming together.
Yeah.
And there's a deep process that's involved in doing that. So we understand that there isn't time to waste. Do you see what I'm saying? You're meant to be refining your daughter and teaching her those skills in her femininity. So that, when she's younger, she is biologically more fertile. She's at her best. That is when you have the most energy to cater to your husband and to your children and to your household. So if you're just waiting, what are we stacking and acquiring all these things for? To enjoy them, to wait to then do what? To now be like all the other women that get to 40 and all the rest of it, or as they say, what post-war. And then realizing your pool isn't as great as it was in youth. So the only reason I would see why women would sell this to other women is when they are trying to sell them something.
She says men are byproducts, so basically, essentially,
it's quite insulting. How do you feel as a man?
Well, as a man, what I feel is that she's telling women what men are told when they're growing up. What men are always know. Men are told that as you grow up, I mean, we're talking old school here. Some of you guys listening to this platform or who may be hearing this podcast might be in your early 20s, late 20s. I mean, like I said, I'm in my early 40s. I've got older brothers and stuff like that. So we come from the last generation of, what is it, millennials or whatever they call it? Yeah, I think that's what we call it. So we grew up with a bit of the old school. You see what I'm saying? So I grew up with the old school. So my play and pimp days is a lot different to what this nonsense is going on here. I don't understand how these men are getting played like this, because the gameplay these women are playing is very low level, which we will talk about in a different podcast. But speaking to what April was speaking about here, about men being a byproduct, we were told growing up, make yourself the best version of yourself. Make yourself socially, get yourself as high socially as you can in life. And once you do that, and obviously financially support yourself, you will reach a certain level where every woman on that level and below is now an option for you. Now, as we grew up, we understood, hold on, the system is different. It's not the same for our European counterparts as it is for us. So now the emphasis of getting the bag and making the money became very different. You see what I'm saying? It's because we understood that we were playing a different game. But then to understand that, or to have women now think that you're the byproduct of them making it, when you can clearly see that the paradigm shift has shifted to allow women to get ahead of you. But they don't see that. They don't see that.
I don't know if that just also lies in entitlement and lack of accountability in terms of, like the, I don't know, what you say, the feminism word. Can you say that?
Well, yeah, you can say that.
In terms of like feminism agendas that are like just ways of it that's pushed through
exactly, and the media.
It's not excuses, it's just what is. But to keep women in that, it goes against.
Because at this point, I mean, obviously, over the 60, 70 years of the propaganda, you can say, okay, propaganda was in full force, and you can still say that there were people who knew about it, because you had people like Shahrazad Ali speaking about it. You've had, there's different people that have spoken about it, but at this point now in 2021, you've still got the Derek Jacksons, which got exposed the other day. You know what I'm saying? This is another person coming out, to still push the same narrative. Obviously, she's now going back on her words of what she said in her post about women's expectations. She's now saying that men are the byproduct. So now you're teaching women to continue down the feminism route. You're teaching women now to be strong, independent, which will lead them to the same position that they are right now. And you can see in Japan right now, they call them Shonyu, leftover women. You see in India now, there's 20 million of these women left over. So obviously there's a billion people in India, so the numbers are very different. But then you're seeing these things, and no one's showing women these things, but they're still allowing these things to take place because they're profiting off.
Sorry, what I said is a lot of this is, not to trivialize it, but these are first world issues.
First world issues. Okay, let's go.
People always ask me, why do you think you not married? I said, because I am a walking example of what I do. See, people think that the man is the validator. Although I love you guys, I love a man, just the way y'all walk and how y'all spell and just all that, right? But you the Bible. See, what?
Insult, and again, shame, insult, guilt, the need to be right.
I'm surprised the lead attorney. I don't know. I'm surprised.
No, to be fair to the lead attorney, he lets you speak.
No, he does.
He lets you speak because as an attorney, letting you speak is what? You're going to hang yourself in the courtroom. You're gonna give you enough rope to hang yourself. And literally, he hasn't said 2 words.
I know, but for guys who are not lead attorneys, you need to check them when they say that. If you're not a lead attorney, yes, and a woman starts saying that,
Yeah.
you definitely need to check that.
Yes.
Because a lot of that is, not to digress, but with everything, babes, I'm always research people. So I've obviously seen a couple of the stuff that she's done, and like interviews and things that she's done, and it's like she says a lot of contradictory things, And in the previous interview she gave, I can't remember who the podcaster was, it was like she spoke so glowingly of men, and spoke so in a way of how women have to be, and how like she spoke as a woman understood that men were the validators, and understanding that there's things that women have to do. But then now on this side, you're speaking. I'm sensing much more masculine phase energy,
right?
Because the way she said it in such a bossified way, like I'm sorry, but men are the. You try to sweet it by saying, "Oh yeah, I just love my black brothers and all the rest of it." There's some women that don't hate men. They don't have a distaste for men. Which is what I'm saying. They can compliment men. They can speak well of men, but they don't admire men, and they don't believe that men are their purpose.
And they don't respect them.
And they don't. Naturally, they will not respect them. Which is what I'm saying. Because if you're placing a man down as a byproduct, what is a byproduct? It's like an afterthought, isn't it? So if a man is an afterthought to everything you've gone and accomplished, everything, what is your purpose for him? Yeah. Even now they're going to put your purpose for him. Yeah. And they forget that it's what is a man's purpose for you? He has his purpose. So if you're coming in that, what's the purpose? Right.
So she's giving women very damaging advice. And ladies, if you're hearing this woman speak and you're hearing this stuff, this is very dangerous advice. And take this from a married couple. That is very dangerous advice, because she's leading you down the garden path to make you believe that your purpose is you building yourself up. I'm not saying don't build yourself up. Build yourself up, but understand that legacy, marriage, community, family, these are things that you say you want. And I hear a lot of black women speaking about this, predominantly black women speaking about this. How can you say you want these things without the man? The proof is and railways is not going to be conducive. They can give you children, but they're not going to be conducive fathers. They're not going to be conducive uncles, brothers, nephews. They're not going to produce accountability, dependability, responsibility, discipline, peace, order. They're not going to bring any of those things. So if they don't bring any of those things, what community and what culture are you now passing on to the next generation?
I was just going to say that, babes, because if your standpoint is that the man is the byproduct, that means everything else outside that is meaningless. Family.
And this is the thing, because what do men bring to this? What do men bring? At the 4 P's, at the very, very bottom level, gentlemen, when we speak about what you should be bringing and your purpose and your leadership, I want to digress here for a second. On your purpose and your leadership, you're meant to be bringing forth the 4 P's at the very basic level. Shout out to Cream and Cure. Protection, procreation, problem solving. Oh, I forgot the last one. It's just got my name now. Protection, procreation, problem solving, literally just got my head. Oh no, family. Okay, let me get it back.
It's gonna bug you, isn't it?
It's gonna bug me. I'll get it back. It is. What was the three I just said?
Provision, protection.
Provision, there you go. Provision, protection, procreation, problem solving. Thank you very much. You gave me the answer. Provision, protection, procreation, problem solving. That's the 4 P's. Those 4 P's will then lead you to what I call surface level masculinity. Surface level masculinity is you now understanding and learning the rules, morals, standards, and discipline that are meant to be implemented into a boy at a very young age. So much and so often that it now becomes ingrained in him as he becomes a man, which then shapes his character as who he's supposed to be, right? That will then lead you to core level masculine level, where you just have these things innate in you, what some people call an alpha male, so to speak. I don't like using the term, because for me the term is very basic and it goes much deeper than just alpha, beta, and all the rest of that stuff. So, because your ultimate goal is to get to a spiritual level of masculinity, what this woman is trying to teach women to do is to chase their level of goal of attainment of wealth, status, and the things that men would chase for, when those things aren't attractive to men. So when these women attain these things, women naturally, by the natural hypergamy we're seeing in the West now, don't want to date men at a lower status than they are. So when they reach that attainment or go to that attainment, they're not going to date those men either. And majority of women are not going to reach that attainment, in which case they're going to die alone trying to reach a never-ending goal that they're never going to achieve, rather than settling down and having a family and building a bigger legacy outside of trying to achieve a bag.
This is what I'm saying. That kind of advice stops women from their purpose and being focused at the prime times in which they should be in their youth, from the ages of like 18 and upwards. You know?
Let's get into it.
Women would think or question me, she don't have a husband. Because I wasn't supposed to have a husband when I was going through developing relationship.
Oh, could you stop that second? Oh gosh, it really.
We gotta let it play. We gotta let it play.
Oh.
Let it play for 2 more minutes.
Married during that time, I would have been more than
Oh, okay, now you go. Lead this into the
It really grates me when women like. It's the framing, it's the framing that's disingenuous. You can see it just in the energy when women frame it so to oh, I've chosen to be in this season, or I've chosen to be single, I'm not married, but it's because I've chosen to. Well, yeah, you have chosen not to be married, but you should be. You know, you were. Why are you not?
Mm-hmm.
If
she's reached the level of eligibility and she's done the work on herself, again, if she's done the work on herself to what? Be single?
Are you teaching so therefore, is your teaching practice to teach other women to be as you are?
Mm-hmm.
And if as you are, then they're going to be married women,
yes,
which are living fantastic materialistic
lives, single
on
lives.
paper,
Mm-hmm.
very great lives,
Mm-hmm.
but unfulfilled, unhappy lives,
Mm-hmm.
because your goal should be the man. But because they've made the man the byproduct,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be unhappy.
You're going to be unhappy.
Whereas if you made that first, you would be happy
Mm-hmm.
whilst achieving those other
things. Yes. Because those things are his purpose. So by default, they're a byproduct. You attaining them are a byproduct of his purpose. So why a woman, this is why they have that issue, because they don't want the man. They feel that they've been lied to and told through the evidence movement, the delusion that men are going to take these things from you. When in actual fact, it's with them building with the man that they get to attain these things on a general level.
It's this belief that it's like they're losing something, do you see what I'm saying, from being married. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Whereas you can still gain all those things in marriage. If anything, that was the original route to obtain those things.
Obtain wealth and stature through family.
Marriage.
It's still the roof.
It was
still
the
the
way
roof.
for socio-economic status. It was the route towards achieving family. Do you see what I'm saying? It was the route towards everything, babes. But now, that's no longer the route. Hence the problem.
All right,
They're listening to women like this. Load of fluff.
let's get into it.
Selling a load of fluff.
So you said he's not going to speak.
What I mean by mentioning the byproduct doesn't mean that we don't need to. What it means is when you become
That's a lie, and that's disingenuous, gentlemen. If you're a byproduct, what is the byproduct of nuclear power? Nuclear waste. And what do we do with that? What is the byproduct of having a cow farm? Methane. What does that cause in the earth?
Mm-hmm.
So again, listen to the language that she's using, right? Because we did the other podcast about testing a woman and speaking about and understanding her language and what she's speaking about, right? Because you need to understand to be able to decipher between good women, traditional women who want to be wives, who are wives, and modern women. Because there's a difference.
And women, like I just said, women that want to be wives, and when you're looking for them, they're women that take men seriously. They take men seriously. So if a woman wants to be a wife, there's no way she can see you as an afterthought or a byproduct or anything. Everything which she does and she is positioning herself for is to make herself a prime candidate for you.
Yes.
And then when she does that, everything she then is supposed to do is continue to make herself and maintain her value, to continue to maintain the title of wife.
All right.
And then mother.
Let's hear what her definition of a byproduct man is.
adult woman for yourself first.
Oh, be a dope woman for yourself first. Be a dope woman for yourself first.
Okay, sure. What I mean by getting the byproduct doesn't mean that we don't need to. What it means is when you become a dope woman for yourself first, the type of man that you want will easily come along.
That's that Prince Charming thing. That's that Prince Charming Disney, Walt Disney magic right there.
Yes, but this is the feminism taint on it, babes, because they're not just trying to frame it like, oh, I'm just waiting for a man because I was getting the bag, I was being dope. Whereas the other one, they're just waiting for the man to come along.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so
the
like,
traditional woman is just sitting there waiting for the man to come and doesn't know nothing. It's sweet, it's simple in her mind, just waiting for the man to be everything.
It's different because she's dope.
So she's going for the bag. So rather than Rapunzel waiting in the castle for the Prince Charming to come and save her, she was doing her own stuff.
Great. So when he's gonna come, she's gonna find him great.
And then what? Want to marry that the woman that wants to take his seat?
Well, no, then she's gonna like.
What? Submit to him because
It's like she's too dope to be with him. You see, she's so dope. Let's see what other options she has.
Okay, let's keep going. I mean, I love this because, being over here like this, and this is one of the reasons why we left Africa, left the West, right? Actually, we were like, we understood that certain things and the way we view marriage and our cultures, it just can't work in the West. And marriage is a done deal, you know what I'm saying? And let's watch the video.
So the man is a byproduct of you becoming a dope woman. You don't become a dope woman for the man. And so that's why a lot of men say, well, when I got her, I got out of my feet, she changed. Yes, because she only did that for to get you. She did not become that. So in my dating academy, I teach you how to date as a bait. That was the sugar to get them in there. Women that actually did the work in my dating academy would tell me, my whole life changed. My money changed, how I got that promotion on my job. I had to use the man as the bait to get them to know themselves better because women aren't doing that for real. Yes, women are learning more competency. Yes, women are picking up more, books to read, but they're not doing the hard work to transform. It's difficult to go through the emotional pain that comes with change. I had to realize I wasn't as dope as I thought I was. I thought, oh, I'm fine, but that was on the outside. Your inner result will always tell you how dope or how dope you're not. So I want
because when you said men are the byproduct,
come on, nigga.
The more dope a woman becomes, maybe the better the man that she can pull can be. Like I'm resonating with that. I like that. But then when you kept going, you were talking about women are making money more on their job, we're making these promotions, and that's what my idea would be like. Well,
let me explain that.
Okay.
On fancy.
Because she went back to the feminism thing about money and status and wealth, right? The things that men went to attain. She didn't say a woman becomes dope, she becomes more feminine, she becomes more wife material, she becomes more nurturing, more motherly, more considerate, you know what I'm saying, more compassionate. She didn't mention any of those things. As a man, I know this. The things that I would value in a high value woman. But she went to money, status, and wealth. And the lead called her out on it. He said earlier some men wouldn't say it. But he said something, so I have to give the lead that. You have to give him the lead on that one.
I don't know if that's calling out.
I would say he called out, but he's pulled her up on it.
He made a note of it.
He's made a note of it, right? Duly noted, Your Honor.
He made a note.
He's made a note of it. Let's keep going.
This is what I mean. I teach living a feminine lifestyle. Living a feminine lifestyle means even when you go to work, your energy is more, you're predominant in the feminine, not necessarily the masculine part. So although we have several family businesses, and I'm the CEO of a couple of them, and then I have a 27-year-old daughter, and my 25 and 23-year-old son, they run the business with me as well. However, I intentionally only give 10 to 15% of my masculine energy to my business every day. That means I'm allowing myself a cap so that I can make sure that I am not throwing myself at the masculine energy as my dominant. There's nothing wrong with a woman being successful at all. It's how she operates in the energy of her success.
Do you think there's a risk
What do you think about that?
I don't know. I'm actually scratching my head. I'm like, okay.
Do you know what I heard?
What did you?
Conditional femininity.
Yes.
I can turn it on and turn it off whenever I feel like it. And this is part of the other BS that women don't realize that they're being lied to in terms of this modern woman independent BS empowerment stuff. Because, and I'm going to speak from a man's perspective here. There are certain things as a man that I know, certain traits and qualities that to certain people I'll come off as Jordan Peterson would say, lack of conscientiousness. Right? In other words, for those that don't understand that,
you see how I'm laughing.
for those that don't understand that what I just said, you see what I'm saying? I'll put it in a more succinct term, meaning a jerk, right?
No, you're not a jerk.
No, not a jerk, as in not being a flat out jerk, but being
because you're very blunt,
disagreeable and direct, right? You see what I'm saying? So that can come off as being someone might feel I'm a jerk about that. But in actual fact, I'm being direct, I'm being truthful and very honest is in my character, is in my nature. Now, that... Okay, let's watch the video. Let's watch the video. I want to go off into a rant there, so let's watch the video.
Successful. For example, let's just take a quick look at what you were saying, and you're starting to see a lot more. You were saying, well, however, the majority of women
you see now, and this was the post that she put up that actually shot her to. So I'm glad that Lee put it up because I think we're gonna finish on this and have a quick chat about what you can find the thoughts on it, right? So I'll read the post that she actually put up. And the post goes, April Mason, this is on Instagram, this is October 18th. She says, however, the majority that come to me, speaking about her clients, have unrealistic expectations. The selfishness, fake everything, think they should be chosen because they have a vagina and good looks. The entitlement just mean not knowing the difference between being a woman and a wise woman and will fight you to be strong, not knowing how to be versus do. Thinking being a feminine woman is weak or a pygmy. Whatever that is, she puts the, I don't know, shoulder shrug emoji. Placing the blame and not taking responsibility or accountability for the choices they made in men. Hearing this statement that she put out a week ago, and hearing what she says now, let me read the question over here. The question over here in the red box says, why am I closing my dating academy and getting out of the business of helping women in this way? The same reason why I closed my matchmaking service in 2013. And then the answer I just gave you. So hearing what she just said here in the lead attorney's interview and hearing what she's posted previously, what are your thoughts on that? As a married woman, just slightly younger than, around the same age group as April Mason. So what would you say to that?
I find it disingenuous, to be honest with you. I find it disingenuous. Like I said, I don't follow her stuff in terms of what she actually does. I've researched her, I've seen some of the interviews that she's done. She carries that energy which I see a lot of our modern women going into, If you go on Instagram, she's absolutely phenomenally put together. She's a very beautiful woman.
Yes.
For 47, she's maintaining her aesthetic value.
She is.
She obviously has a lot of things, and she's achieved a lot of things in her life, which is great. But then when you look at that surface stuff, that's what I look at. That's what women are supposed to have at a certain level, for the level she's at. So if you are at this level, you can't really give somebody kudos for being at the level to which they are at, which is what I mean. The fact that she's not married, I always look at contradictions in people, in what they say, and
what they do.
And this is not to say, guys, any of this are perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
But no one's perfect, but I do believe that when you have a platform, when you position yourself in a certain way, you have to, a certain level, have to be able to walk some of that.
Yeah.
You have to.
At a certain level, yes.
You can't say, I am a dating coach. There has to be some credentials to you. And if I'm going to look at that, I'm going to look at your ability to, well, what is your relationship status? If you're single, never been married, or if you're divorced, I'm not saying anything should be held against you, because everyone can come with wisdom.
Yeah.
But then you look at what is somebody's attitude towards then marriage again, and men and relationships. Is it jaded? Is it Now for her, I'm going to be looking at her credentials. She's not married. Now, some people might say, oh, I don't hold that against her, but you're not married. And when I hear her speak as to, because obviously...
Essentially, what I'm asking you is, based on what I read to you, and based on what you've heard, if you were a single woman, would you take her service? Yes. Why? No. Why?
If I was a modern woman now, from what I am looking and seeing social media wise and just what's out there, I think I would take her service because she's marketed correctly.
If you were a modern woman?
If I was a modern woman, because the marketing is correct, her imagery looks right. Women will look at her and say, oh, I want to look like her. Other women who are 47 will not look
okay,
like
so
her.
what you're saying is that modern women wouldn't go to her service because the goal is to get a man.
No,
they would go to service because they want to be her.
Selling. She's selling them her.
Right.
This is what she said to you. She's using the man as the bait. She's waiting to say, you're coming in as a dating to get a man.
Yes, but you
when
need to
she's
be like
bringing
me,
you
adult
in,
chick.
she's teaching you that no, you need to work on yourself. And when you work on yourself and this and blah, 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 etc., etc. And I guarantee you she will market you a whole other harem of other things that come with that. 1 second, let me not digress. What was I saying there?
No, it was actually what we talked about. She's talking about she's not being genuine because she's not telling the women to come in for a purpose of
exactly.
marriage.
So she's telling them like you're dating coming in for that, but her main purpose is not to get you married, it's not to that, and she's saying the men is a byproduct.
Yeah.
So you're coming in dating. Dating is I want to go with a matchmaking service
to
get me a partner.
Yes.
And people, if you're picking dating profiles, you put out a profile, you say what your requirements are. And if people are paying for these high-level dating services, usually these women want to be married. They want to be coupled off. So you're essentially saying, yes, I can position you to get you married. But essentially, I'm going to get here and just teach you to be dope. I'm just teaching you to be dope. So I'm selling you fluff. She's already set a premise for it. So when I look at, if I was a modern woman, I would buy that because I like what she's selling. It makes me feel good. I can feel I can be that. When a lot of the women, and she said that a lot of the women are going to come in, but they're not going to do that work. Because to do the work is growth work.
It's growth work.
But you're meant to be teaching them to do the growth work to get them married. Now, if I was somebody who is, I would just say, I think most modern women will go for that. Do you see what I'm saying? Across different age spectrums,
they would go for that. That's really sad. But true. I agree. I think most modern women will go for that. It's on a certain level, like the PhDs, the professionals, the ones that's a certain level of college educated, because they want to see themselves as that strong, powerful boss chick who just looks amazing, everything else. But we know the statistics that one of the least happy demographic of people in the West is women over the age of 40. So she's flat bang in that place. So what she, I guess, is saying is you're unhappy because your purpose is for a man. And because your purpose is for a man, that's why you're unhappy.
And because you've been doing things for the goal to attain the man, that's why it doesn't work out for you.
Yeah, what you need to do is be a dope chick. Come to my course, learn how to be a dope chick, and then you ultimately have men being the byproduct because you will then reach a certain level. But this is where she's lying to women, because when they reach that level, the ones that do, I'm going to speak two parts here, to the women that do and to the women that don't. To the women that do reach that level, again, hypergamy kicks in. They don't want to date any man that are below that level. And the men that's on their level and above are not going to date them because they inherently come with attributes, traits, and characteristics that are not conducive to being a wife. To the women that aren't or don't make it to that level, they've now wasted a lifetime attaining something that the probability of them attaining it was very low. There's a possibility of attaining it, but the possibility is a 1 in a million chance. That doesn't mean you're not going to jump out of a plane if you have a 1 in a million chance to survive it. You want to know you have more than a 1 in a million chance to survive it.
But your higher probability of achieving as a woman would be in your youth.
In your youth, but they're wasting their youth because they want to be strong and independent and get the bag by getting a career. They're spending their youth chasing rather than getting married, having children in their youth. And by the time they get to 35, if women had their children between the ages of 20 and 30, 35 latest, their eldest child that they had at 20 would almost be 15. So by the time they got to 40, most of their children would either be in school or self-sufficient, independent.
Listen,
and they could have a career.
When we started having kids, I was like,
31. Yeah.
31.
Yeah.
I remember even with my parents, it's like in African culture, that's like, oh my gosh,
No, that was late, but there was medical
but-
issues for that.
but generally though, we understand that you
Culturally,
culturally,
yes.
we understand that. Whereas here in the West, it's like you're going against your biological order.
Yes.
You know, you have more strength, more energy in you. Do you see what I'm saying? We shouldn't be wasting that. And women which are teaching other women, once again, marketing. It's marketing.
But it's
that
women
you have-
teaching other women.
Exactly. It's women teaching other women that you have
Not men.
more time. You have more time, and then clearly find out and get to a point that realize that they do not have that time. They don't.
That's amazing. Well, I have to say, guys, that's all we have time for today. I want to say that was an amazing show. I was supposed to take a break in the middle of the show.
But we did not do that.
But we didn't do that. We'll do that for next time, guys.
Next time.
So we can break it up a little bit. But do leave your comments down below, guys. There'll be some more videos coming out on the BLK Couch Review. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, looking at it from a different perspective. Having a social,
No, I was just going to say that we have, obviously, guys, thank you for all the videos that you do send in. You know, we are working through them. For those of you that have been keeping up to date on like our other videos, you know that internet is a bit of an issue for us at the moment, but we are working on that. But yeah, we're working with the videos, and we'll definitely have some more stuff coming out for the BLK Couch Reviews.
Yes, we do have some more stuff coming out from BLK Couch Reviews. So if you enjoyed the conversation and you want to get into more and hear more conversations like this, then do please smash that like button, guys. If you gained some value from the conversation, subscribe to the channel, of course, and listen out for the program. We haven't scheduled a day for the program to be coming out, but if we get more of you interested in the program and more of you listening to the podcast, then we will definitely schedule in a particular day for the show to come out. Until then, guys, we love the company, enjoy the conversation, and feel free to catch you later.
Peace out, guys.
Stay blessed.
Stay blessed.
Catch you later.
Bye.